Hold on to your butts.
Don't move, you're surrounded by armed bastards.
What are we going to do?
Well, I say let's get out there and twat it.
Hello and welcome back to the Cabernet Podcast. I'm James.
I'm Rob.
And I'm Jake.
Today's episode is a musical one, so we're all going to start singing for you. Oh,
Good job it's already written.
yes. So one of our favourite bands, we can all agree, there's not many bands that we agree on as being ones we really, really like. The one we do agree on is Ghost. And in honour of their forthcoming 6th album that is about to come out, in a matter of weeks, I believe, as the time of recording, we are going to try and rank the previous...
It's the 5th album.
It's the 5th album.
It's the 5th album?
Yeah.
I've jumped ahead. I'm recording this from 2032.
When Ghost are releasing their 50th album.
Yes. So their 5th album, so we're going to try and rank the previous 4 albums and why we think they're in the order they are. But just the main albums. We're not doing the EPs and the random other bits they did. Just the 4 main releases. Mm-hmm. So before we get into that, we want you to grab a drink, make yourself comfortable, and enjoy the discussion. So the 4 albums are Opus Anonymous, Infestissuma, Meliora, and Prequel.
Yes, they are.
Yes, they are. I always feel there should be another one between Infestissuma and Meliora.
It was like the big jump, weren't it? Like,
yeah.
The sound that they've got now really, I think, came to prominence on Meliora, didn't it? And
well, they did have that EP, the If You Have Ghosts EP. But,
yeah.
But not.
I don't think that was still more in line with the first 2 albums, though, that EP.
The first 2 were released pretty close together, weren't they?
Relatively, yeah.
Two years,
only a matter of
3
years, yeah.
Apart. Which is why I think they sound so much alike, and then, like you said, there's such a difference starting with Meliora to go.
Yeah, I'll just look. So there's 3 years between each album, basically.
Is it?
Yes, Opus was released in 2010, Infestissuma in 2013.
I thought that were 12.
Now, Meliora was in 2015, so 2 years between that one, and then Prequel was in 2018. They had a couple of, like I said, EPs. So If You Have Ghosts was released in 2013, Pope Star EP was in 2016, and then the 7 Inches of Satanic Panic was released in 2019. So let's just talk about the albums. Let's go through each album. So we'll start with Opus Anonymous, their first album. Or I've said that. Or do you want to just go straight into trying to rank them?
No, discuss them first.
Discuss them.
I think certainly have a quick cheeky chat about each album. Yeah, Opus. It'll always, I'll get to the ranking bit later, but it'll always be such a statement album because the Ghost sound, although it's obviously developed over years, it still always sounded like Ghost. It's still clearly Ghost. So to come with an album like that, with the imagery and everything just being a complete package in that first release as an Opus album, it's up there, isn't it? Like it's just such a statement right off the bat.
Oh, definitely.
I just remember listening to the instrumental at the start. What's it called? Good question. I just remember listening to that.
Conclave?
No, that's a song.
That's a song into
Conclave con Dio. Dios Culpa.
Dios Culpa, that's it. I remember listening to that, and the image it created in my head was of almost like a Stephen King-esque Salem's Lot old funeral home. Really sort of middle America, really incredibly religious, like dangerously religious sounding, and then obviously we're kicking in with the bass in the first song. I found out recently, which I thought was really good, when the Cardinal was upgraded to Papa on the last tour run, when he became Papa 4, the song they played straight after was Conclave con Dio.
It was.
Which you'll have to clarify this one, James, being a far more religious person than me. I don't know. You know Latin.
I used to go to church. Yes, I used to make
Conclave con Dios is the process of selecting a new pope. That's what it means.
Is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what it means.
I thought it was when McGregor tries to kill everybody. Oh no, that's Age of the Demons, isn't it? Is Dan Brown a documentary? I always thought they're not. Oh, okay. I always thought they were. No, I think Opus is a very strong opening. I think it's
Quite a short album as well.
Yeah, it's only about.
They all are though. I think they mostly are quite.
You've got longer, I think, as time's gone on.
No,
No, Meliora is really short.
Is it?
was one
34 minutes.
34 minutes Opus. I've just looked.
Just looked.
Just in comparison. No, actually, Meliora is longer. Meliora is 41 minutes.
Prequel's one shortest, isn't it?
Prequel is also 41 minutes.
Okay.
And while we're doing this, Impera Sumam is 47 minutes. Impera Sumam is their
The
longest.
longest album. As I said, I would have said it was the longest. Yeah.
So yeah, Opus is the shortest album, which is actually quite surprising.
Brad, I think it makes it better because it
Condenses it.
condenses it, and there isn't any shit in it. They haven't just gone, oh, we'll just put that in just to make it fill it out a little bit.
Well,
They've gone, these are the songs, and that's the album.
Well, your first album should always be pretty strong.
It should be, yeah.
Should, but in theory, you've had a lot,
You've
a
spent
long
all your life
time.
writing that,
Yeah, it's a long time to get to this album. In theory, for a lot of bands.
Yeah.
So it should be your first album should be, if not the best, definitely one of the strongest
Yeah.
releases in your
as
back
well,
catalogue.
Knowing that, looking back, as I did when I first got into them, most of the songs off the first EP demo are on that. And I think it's the recording from the demo version that's in them.
Oh, okay.
Elizabeth
was the first.
This is one
song
of the
they
first songs
released.
I've ever done.
Elizabeth, it Death Knell? Or is it
maybe Certain Prayer?
or Certain Prayer or Stand By Him, I think.
Oh, no,
Stand by. No, I think the first.
Elizabeth and Stand By Him, ain't it?
Yeah, two great songs.
Yeah,
They don't
I
really
think that's what's wonderful about it is because there's such a nostalgic approach to Satanism in it, and
Yeah.
something I'm probably going to mention it again as we get onto the other albums. But I always imagined the first album as being like in the lore of Ghost, within their world that Tobias Ford's created. It's like a black mass. That's what album 1 is, and then album 2 becomes a cult, and then album 3 becomes one of those those American. They're in like vast halls and
mega churches. I think
mega
they're called.
churches, yeah. And then you just sort of got a progression on that every single time. It's just everything becomes flashier and more plastic as it goes on. I really like that as a theming.
No, I
It's
think
very medieval.
I remember.
Opus.
I remember listening to Opus when I was still living at mum and dad at home. My dad sort of heard. I can't remember which track. I think he might have heard Elizabeth or Stand By Him. I went, that sounds interesting. What's that? They went, oh, it's a new band, Ghost. I went, I don't think they're for you. I went, oh no, let me give them a go. Let me give them a go. And I went, oh, here's the CD. And my dad listens to Ghost on his way to a church meeting because he's part of a charity, which is a religious charity. And he listened to it on the way to his meeting, and then he came back, and I'll never forget this. He just got the CD, threw it down on my desk, and just went, I did not enjoy that. Mainly because at the end of Ritual, they say the Lord's Prayer backwards.
Yes.
They say an inverted version of it. They say Amen backwards, which is meant to be quite blasphemous to the religious community. So I'll never forget. Just I did not enjoy that. But yeah, so I think it's quite fun for a playlist to go along with this episode. Would be if we all pick a track from the album, each album, 3 different. So it doesn't matter if we all like the same one. If we think 3 tracks from each album.
Well, my favourite from Opus is Elizabeth.
Okay,
so that's got to be on there for me.
Elizabeth, I think, is a really good shout. I think it's definitely one of the strongest songs.
I think it would be one of my favourites of that album.
It's definitely one of my. It's just. I think it's an album where it's actually quite hard to pick a week. Because the first time we saw Ghost, even though they didn't play it in order throughout the night, they played the entirety of this album, which included Genesis, which is really, really good instrumental.
Yeah.
Now for me, it depends what Rob picks, is what my pick's going to be.
I think certainly, other than Genesis, the closing 4 are very strong. So,
they are very, very strong.
Stand By Him, Satan Prayer, Death Knell, Prime Mover. I think, for me, Satan Prayer.
Okay.
I would definitely
Satan Prayer. Yeah, no, I think that's good. I was torn between Death Knell and Ritual, but I'm going to go with Ritual because I don't think you can have a Ghost set without Ritual.
Death Knell's a good shout. I mean,
it's a good album. It genuinely is.
There's not a bad song.
Certain Prayer as well, though.
I think the only one time it dips slightly, I'm not saying it's a bad song, but for me, the only time it dips ever so slightly is Prime Mover. It's not a bad song by any stretch, but when it's sandwiched in between Death Knell and Genesis, And you know how much I like a good twiddly instrumental. And Genesis.
See, Genesis is one of the ones that I don't listen to that much because I like the whole package of Ghost with the singing as well, the whole sound.
I always felt Genesis is the first half of a track. There should be there's a 10th track missing from this album.
Yeah. The Dear Culprit at the beginning, that makes sense because that's like a
lead
in.
It's a good intro.
But I think Genesis at the End is one I very rarely listen to just because I like the singing that goes with the sound.
No, I think it's good. Yeah, I just feel like Genesis would be even stronger if it then went into something else.
Yeah. But if it were like if they'd have put that maybe in the middle of the album after Elizabeth into Stand By Him or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. But obviously they're big on the whole theatricality and meaning, so they've done it for a reason. Ghost do everything for a reason. The order of their songs is very deliberate. Like even the end, because we're going to get onto it. Obviously, we're going to Infesta Sumum now. The fact that they end most concerts now with Monstrous Clock, which is actually quite a down ending when you think about it. It's quite a sombre ending.
It
to
builds
a gig.
it up nicely beforehand. It tells everybody to go home and copulate. But
yes, when you all go home and fuck each other. Yes, but it's quite the fact that the song actually ends with a chorus of come together for Satan. It's actually quite a sombre ending to a gig, and again, it's very deliberate the way they do that. So we're on to Infesta Sumum now, which was released 3 years later.
Under the Ghost BC.
Yes, Ghost BC in America. Over here, confusingly referred to both Ghost and Ghost BC. But obviously, we all know them all as Ghost. Now, this is the first, because you've got a theory about band. Right? You'll always really like the album when they first released after you got into them.
Yeah.
So when I first listened to Ghost, Opus had been out about a year or so.
Yeah.
By the time I listened to him, because you got me into Ghost. So I've always really enjoyed Infesta Sumum. I know not everyone else is as bothered by Infesta Sumum. They think it's probably one of the weak releases.
Yeah, it's certainly again we say it a lot on this. By no means a bad album.
No,
in my opinion.
I don't think it is.
I think it's a fantastic album actually, but it is in the pantheon of Ghost albums the one at the bottom for me. It's just, and it's purely a personal enjoyment thing. And that's not to say that there's not some incredible stuff like Monstrous Clock. Year Zero, which is fantastic, and my personal favourite off the album, Ghoulie and Zombie Queen.
So would that be your pick for the track?
Well, that would be my pick for this one. But and again, it was one of them that I always enjoyed it. When we saw them live in Leeds and they played Ghoulie and Zombie Queen.
It was much stronger. It was much stronger. But again, that feels like it is really Ghoulie and Zombie Queen. It's two tracks kind of blasted together.
Yeah.
The first half is very different to the almost surfer rock that is the second half.
Well, it's certainly got like a bit of a surf guitar thing as it kicks in.
Yeah. So it's Ghoulie and Zombie Queen.
Ghoulie and Zombie Queen, yeah.
Did they play a Bloodstock, Ghoulie and Zombie Queen?
I think they did, but I don't know if I just weren't as fussed at that point or whatever. But
it
sticks in my mind.
You kept calling me Ghoulie Zombie Queen because obviously I was in the nun costume with the makeup. You kept referring to me as Ghoulie that night.
Yeah. That Ghoulie Zombie Queen was one that when I first got the album, I hated it. I was so like, this is terrible, and it's one of my favourites now. I absolutely love it now.
Such a good song.
Yeah.
It's that thing though, isn't it? I think sometimes a lot of stuff it don't. That's another one. Okay, it's from an EP, and we're not ranking them as such. But Meliora Cross, of the two songs off that EP, it was the weaker one, and it was like it's just Ghost really. But then live, and it is now one of my favourites.
Yeah.
I couldn't pick between them two now.
I don't think I could.
I think I would still go for Kiss the Go Go out of those two on that EP. But yeah, seeing Meliora Cross live did make me go, oh, this is why this is good. That's what Ghost are very deliberate in everything they do.
Ghost turn doors.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
With all the keys in it.
Yeah.
But speaking of EP, I know we're not ranking the EPs, but Infesta Sumum, if you bolt it with if you have Ghost EP, it does go up in my estimations. It does go, because If You Have Ghost is a phenomenal cover.
The song is, and Crucified is great. I'm a Marionette is just kind of so.
It's fine. It's a weaker ABBA song to do. I get why they're doing it, but it's a weaker. If you're going to cover an ABBA song, it's not an album. But again, that's probably why they chose it.
It fits the theme in there, doesn't it? I'm a Marionette. It's a bit quite creepy.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you see ABBA doing it, it's quite creepy because they dress up as dolls, so it is quite creepy seeing them do it.
Yeah.
So
Like I said, by no means a bad album. Infested Superman. I think I always judged it harshly in years gone by for the recording quality. I really appreciate that now.
so I loved that you. I love the fact that you could hear that they were wearing the masks when they were recording. So I think it's on the end of Monstrance Clock when Papa's singing to the microphone, and you can hear the words hitting the mask before it hits the microphone. And to me, I love that quality. You can hear the
I always judged it
quality.
harshly, but
I love
it
that.
now, yeah.
I love that you can hear that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know it's a really, really pedantic, but I've always loved that fact you can hear that. What would be your pick, Rob, for your track off that album? Again, I'm torn between three, I think, on this one.
I know Year Zero's in there, isn't it?
Yeah, Year Zero. The three for me I'm torn between are Per Aspera, Year Zero, and Monstrous Clock. I just don't know what I'd pick.
Two are the same.
Okay. Well, so
Per Aspera
yeah.
and Year Zero. My other one would be Body and Blood.
So that's one I've never been that bothered
I
by.
really like.
That one and Idolatry.
Well,
Yeah.
looking at the track list, actually, the one I can't bring to mind in my head is Idolatry. That's the one I can't bring to mind.
I can hear it, but
Yeah. I think, just to put something different out on the playlist, I think Body and Blood.
You get the Body and Blood, okay?
But
I always love the clap in that.
yeah, this one, to me, does have a little bit more of a... It feels like I said, with Opus, it doesn't seem like a bad track, and it doesn't sound like they just chucked anything in.
they did Body and Blood at Bloodstock,
Whereas
They
this,
and it was good.
It was good live.
this does seem like, with Idolatry again, because I can't really remember it, it does seem like they've just chucked a couple in. Just to,
yeah.
Seems like the record label's going, you need to make a bit of a longer album because you can't release 4-minute albums all the time, so we'll chuck a couple extra songs in. Depth of Satan Eyes, I can't really.
No, that's one I can't.
No, I can't bring it to it. It's one
Them
definitely on the
two I
weekend.
can't really place. Monstrous Clock, everything up
So up to Body and Blood.
Body and Blood I can put, and then Idolatry and Depth of Satan's Eyes I can't really place them two. But if you take them two off, I would imagine you go down to at least 40 minutes, if not 38. So they could be the ones where they've gone, yeah, you can chuck some else in.
I think I'm going to pick Year Zero, only because...
We haven't said Secular Haze, I mean... Oh, that was the EP, weren't it?
No, Secular Haze.
it
No,
was.
although
It was
there's a
a
live
fair-
version of Secular
yeah.
Haze on that EP.
That's it,
It was
yeah.
the first single off
Yeah.
off Infested.
I don't know, as the more I've listened to Secular Haze, the more I'm not as bothered by Secular
I
Haze.
love the video for it though.
The video's probably
incredible.
better than the actual song.
Yeah,
This sort of really creepy...
like Blue Peter style
Yeah.
performance. Yeah, it's,
But I was going to go for Per Aspera, but I thought there's nothing else that actually really sounds like Per Aspera. It's quite, it's an unusual ghost song. So
Yeah.
there's nothing else really. It's not a good snapshot of what they sound like because that's really the only time they really sound like that.
I think if Per Aspera was done in the style of Opus, it would fit well in Opus. I think that's like, almost like that was the link. We need to keep a little bit of what we did before into this album, and we'll just put that kind of thing because it's very similar to Conclave
Condia.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that one. It's very similar in that respect. It'd be the second song.
Yeah, Opus is brilliant. So that's Infestisum. Now on to Meliora. Now Meliora is a contentious one because there is a special edition of Meliora that has got Square Hammer on it.
It's where we tend to split off. I think we've got like similar tastes throughout Ghost, apart from on this album.
Yeah, I mean Square. I mean, I'm sure we're just taking the regular version of Meliora, the originally released Meliora. So Square Hammer is not. Not part of the conversation.
And that's fine. I would say that anyway. That it's still up there as one of my favourites, Meliora. It was the dawn of Ghost being what they are today. To me, this album, it was the breakout album in that respect. Although they were very popular with what they did with the first two albums, this was the one, and it was okay. To be fair, it was the Pope Star tour that people got. So when they released the EP with it, that tour is what made Ghost the live acts that they are now.
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, that album, I remember I was again living in London, and just from the opening track, Spirit, it's got such a really weird, ethereal, sort of almost spacey.
A little bit, yeah.
Again, it was another one. Although I liked that aspect of the song itself was kind of there. But then seeing it live, because they played it in Leeds, didn't they?
They did play Spirit in Leeds.
And again, it was just everything just makes so much more sense live. But it's got one of my favourite Ghost songs on there, Here's, which I know is not up there.
Yes, that would never be on my...
But then I really like Mummy Dust as well, because it's one of the heaviest songs.
two of mine. If I were to pick,
See, now that's interesting because they're two of my
mine.
least favourite tracks.
Yeah.
Meliora for me is my least favourite. It's my least favourite Ghost
Favourite
album.
album.
And again, it's not a bad
But I
album.
think
Mine-
just Absolution is such a good song.
Oh, Absolution, really, Absolution and Deus in Essentia is so good.
I quite like Majesty as well. I know you're not as fussed about that.
I've grown to like Majesty a bit more, to be
Yeah.
fair.
I always put. We're talking about all four as a whole. I put at one time they were in order. Opus number 1, Prequel number 4, and I think that has changed now. But again, I didn't listen to Meliora as much, and I don't know why. But I think because was Pinnacle the first single?
No,
Cerise
Cerise
was
was the first.
Cerise was the
single.
first.
Cerise
And
was
then
the-
Pinnacle.
No,
And
Pinnacle.
and of the singles that were released, I think they released the Cerise, Pinnacle, and I think Majesty was the third single.
No, he is.
Oh, he is.
Because I didn't like the song He Is, but I always loved the video for He Is.
That the video came out after quite a while after. They didn't release the video straight away when they
Oh.
released it as a single.
Oh. But the video's all in white. It's almost like a love. It's
Yeah.
always like a ballad type. I mean, it is a ballad, but
Well, yeah.
Again, there's two on this one that I can't really place as well. Spox and that.
that's just
Well,
an
it's
that's
instrumental.
just an instrument. It's like a 30-second, which is what annoys me about this album is that they made a big thing about there being this many tracks in that. And there's two that like 30-second
Yeah.
terrible intros.
And then Devil Church.
Yeah, so that's
Same again.
That the other one.
Same again.
They're the two that I can't place. But then again,
But I was never fussed about the two initial singles, Cerise and From the Pinnacle to the
I know.
Pinnacle.
I really like, and again, I really love the video for Cerise as well.
I
Yeah.
preferred Pinnacle. out
Did
of
you?
the two,
No, I
yeah.
really like Cerise.
Out of the two of them.
Massively fussed about
I
it,
now
this one.
prefer Cerise.
Okay.
When they came out together, well, not together, but when they came out,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
preferred Pinnacle, and then
Okay.
I've gone back, I think, prefer Cerise.
But Here's would be mine.
He Is your pick.
I'll go in when we just said.
So that's interesting. Because like I say, you picked my two least favourite. So you're saying Mummy Dust. Now for me,
Something quite Metallica-esque in Mummy Dust, I feel, in guitars.
I just feel like it doesn't work. I mean, it was good. It was decent live, but I don't know. There's something about it for me that just doesn't quite click for me. Mummy Dust with Ghost. If another band was to release it, maybe I would. But I don't know. With Ghost for me, it just doesn't quite click. I think I'm going to say Cerise then. I think.
I also really like the kind of throwback to the original album
Yeah.
cover, and how it's also like got almost looks like
Got
two
Papa's
people.
It's got Papa's face.
Yeah, but then you've also got Papa stood holding the things up.
Yeah.
But then it's Papa there as well. Yeah. Although that does kind of look like the new album cover as well. They seem to have gone
There's
down
a bit-
that.
They've gone that like a very empirical look.
That's similar kind of route.
So now we're on to Prequel.
What an incredible album
I mean,
is
in fact,
Prequel.
you weren't that bothered about it when you first heard it, were you?
No.
I just think that when we were at Caravan and we listened to Rats on the morning
Oh,
it came out,
God, so
how many times in a row?
Oh God, I lost count. If I had Spotify at that point, that would have automatically made it my song of the
Yeah.
year. The amount of times we listened to it.
Oh, it was ridiculous, weren't it?
I think for me, I'm not like a elitist, like they should never change, and I get that everybody should progress, but they changed so drastically for me from what Opus was to Prequel. It's such a
See, but again, you can hear
It's still
there.
it's still the same band.
It's a
you couldn't listen to it and think that's
Oh, no.
anybody but Ghost.
no, it's
Yeah.
a natural progression, but it was so far removed from that initial sound that I liked, and I think although they do start it on Meliora, I think it's still firmly rooted in Ghost, original Ghost. There's I didn't like it at first.
I love it. I mean, it's got a special place in my heart because
your honeymoon,
it was
isn't
it was my honeymoon. It was my honeymoon album in the sense that we got married on the Tuesday, and this came out on the Thursday, and we were flying on the Friday.
What's your honeymoon album? Because I've got one and it's weird.
We were in Disneyland, so probably some Disney soundtrack.
Mine was on the day that we flew to Barcelona. I'd downloaded it on Spotify and it was Apocalypse 1992 by Gloria Hammer.
Wow. Okay.
That was my honeymoon album. But the first time me and Becky went abroad together, just the two of us, we went to Greece, and Opus had just come out at that point. So I remember laid on a sunbed in this sweltering hot Greek island, reading a big feature on Ghost, double spread feature on Ghost in Metal Hammer.
Well, one reason it became my my Honeymoon album was because I also had it. I managed to put it onto my phone because my iPod actually died while I was away, and it's the most middle class way an iPod could die. So we were in Venice. We were in Venice for a day, and it was one of these hotels where you ordered evening meal for breakfast. Well, not our breakfast, not full breakfast. And so they went, oh, what are you having for evening meal? I went, oh, we're not having evening meal time because we're having an evening trip to Venice. And they went, oh, we'll make you a packed lunch. We went, oh, right. I guess they gave us a load of like ham and like meats and bread and things like that, and lots of cheese. Very, very, continental and things like that. Really, really, really nice. Like really good quality stuff. So I had a backpack, put it in my bag, and we'll try my Venice. And obviously, it's Italy, it's summer, so it was so hot. It was so hot. And I had everything in my bag. And what had happened, because it got so hot, the meat had sweated. And it got in. It got
meat
in,
sweat.
So my iPod died because of ham sweat.
Ham sweat.
So I couldn't. I was so annoyed. Like, oh, it's not working. So I had to use I had music on my phone, and I had Prequel and a few other random bits. But the only thing I had in full was Prequel. So pretty much the only thing I then listened to for the rest of the honeymoon, which was fair. It was only I think it was only like 3 days left of the honeymoon by that point. But it was Prequel, so I listened to it a lot. But also, it's just a fantastic album. It is really, really, really good.
To go against my point though about how far removed it was from the original sound, the EP they released after that, I absolutely love both of the songs.
7 Inches of Satanic Panic.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that again is so far removed from that original sound, but yet I preferred that to Prequel at the time.
Okay.
And I think I probably still do, to be fair. But
Okay. Now this is gonna be a hard one for me picking a track.
It is for me, to be honest.
There's too many. There's too many good songs on this one.
The reason I got into this one was I'd listen to it while I was painting the cabin. Actually, when I've been painting the nice dark colour that it is now.
It's a tough one.
This is really tough. I can't. There's 1, 2. There's 4. There's 4 on this one.
I think I will go, just because it was the one that came to mind first. I'm going to go with Faith.
Faith. I thought that might be the one you pick. I know you really like Faith.
Yeah, Faith's a great song.
It's just him singing about how much he's enjoying having that George Michael album. Faith is mine.
I think probably the one for me would be Rats.
Rats. That was one of my potential choices.
It was certainly also one of mine. Yeah.
Or Life Eternal, I do quite like.
Yeah,
Life Eternal. That's one definitely. Such a.
That would have been my number 2. Life Eternal. I'd go. Top 3 on that album would be, and not because Dance Macabre's not a great song, but it's almost like their poster song really for that album, so it's in its own category. So I would go Faith is my favourite, Life Eternal, Rats would be my
Dance Macabre is definitely up there for me. Life Eternal is a close second, but I also love Miasma. Miasma is
instrumentals go.
The sax solo. You
I'm
can't
not
beat
big on instrumentals,
but you can't beat a sax solo. That sax solo in there is pretty epic. You know what? No, I'm going to go against type. I feel like I should pick Dance Macabre because it's such a good song. It is such a fun song.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with Life Eternal.
Okay,
I think
good.
For really again, for one of those songs in the back catalogue, they never really tend to play, but it's definitely got like a monstrance clock kind of vibe to it as well. And there's a really good video that Ghost. It was a fan made video, but Ghost endorsed it. It was of this young couple sort of courting each other in Rome and things like that.
Oh, I've seen
yeah,
this.
and it's really kind of sweet, and they go up to the hillside and you think, oh, this is all going to be lovely and all really nice and romantic, and Life Eternal's playing in the background, and then he crucifies her. Yeah. But she's a willing participant, and she happily gets crucified. And you kind of go, wow, that's horrible.
That's
taken a turn. But yeah, it's too. I think it's too hard. And I feel doing this review, I've realised that I found it a lot harder to pick tracks from Prequel and Opus. I found it much easier to pick from Emphysema and Meliora.
Yeah.
So now we've got the fun task of trying to rank them.
Before we do that,
okay, we're not going to do that.
I know we're not ranking the EPs, but shall we have? You pick a song from one EP, you pick a song for another EP, just for the sake of the
okay,
playlist.
so for the EPs, I mean,
which EP do you want to take?
I mean, the problem is not problem. But I think to be fair, we'll be pretty unanimous. I think on the EPs.
I don't think we would.
Really?
To be honest, I didn't really listen to the EPs that much.
Okay, so what EPs do you know? What do you know?
I know what they are.
You listen, 7 Inches Satanic Panic's your favourite, so you pick one from that. You pick one from If You Have Ghosts, and I'll have Popestar.
Well, obviously, mine's If You Have Ghost. That is my pick. If You Have Ghost.
Mine's Bible.
Is it? It's not Square Hammer.
The Square Hammer's fantastic, but I love Bible. I think Bible is...
Bible is good. So, Bible.
It's quite an uplifting song, really. For
It is, actually.
Yeah.
I do feel like I've got short end of stick because I've only got 2 to pick from, and they're both fucking great.
Well, to be fair, it was only going to be between Bible or Square Hammer.
Well, yeah, I suppose.
If you have Ghost, it was the only track on there,
Yeah.
really.
I'm going to go against everything I would ever say, and I'm going to pick Mary on the Cross.
No, I think Mary is...
When it
I
came
think
out,
it's my favourite.
when
now.
it
It's
came
my
out,
favourite.
I was just like, no. To me, it was just like, well, it's very, very similar. It just sounds like they're just trying to do the same thing. And the more I've listened to it, I've got actually no. Mary on the Cross is great.
It's got possibly one of the best lines in a Ghost song ever as well. If you choose to run away with me, I will tickle you
internally. Which is, a fantastic...
Literally listened to it last night, and Becky went, and she's obviously heard it before and she knows the lyric and everything, but she went, is it just a really silly way of saying sex? I was like, well, no, I think it means more like, with a finger. But anyway, it's tickling. It's like she's using your finger. Only finger.
So we're not ranking. So the EPs are separate to this entirely. But so if we're ranking them, should we go top to bottom or bottom to top?
Go bottom to top.
Bottom to top. Okay. So for me, in the bottom position is Meliora.
Mm-hmm.
That's for me. But I want to try to get a consensus. So between us, we're ranking them. So what's your bottom?
My bottom's Infestisumam.
Let's Festsumam.
I join you, Meliora.
Okay. So do we go with diplomacy here, or do you try and fight your case for why you think Festsumam?
It comes down to personal taste, doesn't it? So I would never try and convince you on
Not
my
what
way.
we've
I think I
said
can.
plenty of times. None of them are bad. So
No, it's just a
personal.
sad fact that you have to put one in bottom bottom place.
Yeah, again, we're really saying none of these albums are bad.
Absolutely
They're
not.
If any of them were to be released individually as the first album, I think we'd be saying differently.
I think it comes down to a very simple fact that we've probably only recently, just through discussing it now, really put a finger on it. It's the only album I can think of that has filler. It's the only Ghost album that's got 2 songs on it that I can hear every other song in my head, but there was one on Infestisumam now that I can't.
I agree, but I find the songs that I can bring to mind on Infestisumam more enjoyable than the ones I can. But on the whole, because there are still some fantastic songs obviously on Meliora, but on the whole I find Infestisumam more enjoyable.
Yeah, and it's purely what it comes down to, isn't it? It's just that's the one for me. But and it's a sad fact that one has to be in that spot.
So are we, as a group, saying Meliora is number 4?
Are we? Is that what we're doing? Are we trying to do we have to agree on this?
Well, I think we to come to a consensus. We try and make it our list.
I mean, to be fair, I'm getting my point across anyway. So
I'm not disagreeing with your point.
Yeah.
I think we do all 4 and see how. If they are drastic. If it's just a case of we agree on every other one and that's the only one that is, then we can try and argue whether we put that way, do it that way. I think do 3.
Okay. So the next one up for me would be Infestisumam.
Mine is prequel.
and mine is Meliora.
Oh, so 3 complete. All right, so this is where it gets very.
That's why I said it, because I knew prequel was next.
Okay, so this gets very interesting now. Yes. So for me, Infestisumam being in 3rd is the same. Is what we just said. It's not one. It's still a good album. It's not one of the stronger, but it has got a bit of filler on there. And it's just not as strong as the other 2. I don't think.
See, putting Meliora in 3rd for me comes purely down to the fact that how much I love the other 2 that are in 1 and 2 versus how I feel about Meliora. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It has to go in 3 because they are 1 and 2.
Yes. Yeah. I think
By process of elimination.
Okay. Yeah.
It's nothing to do with the album because it's up there, really, in my opinion. But
okay. Ooh, so number
prequel is just like I've already covered it when we discussed it. I think it's just for me it was such a
departure.
such a drastic sound change, and I really liked the initial Ghost sound. So yeah, that's why it's. I feel yours is more of a soft spot for why prequel's so high in your because it's 1 or 2 definitely because.
Well, there's also what's left.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying because it is quite a drastic sound, which is why it's going to be interesting to see when it's to the whole of the next album how that sound's been developed a bit more, because I know they've obviously released a couple of songs. So they've released as of time of recording, they have released obviously Hunter's Moon, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And
Call Me
Little Sunshine, which was a chewer, was definitely a chewing song.
I liked it from when
I liked it, but I've grown to like it even more.
I didn't. I didn't like it. I just weren't blown away by it. But again,
it's got that
now.
bit.
Now it's great.
I think it's just after the solo where it does the Call Me, and
it's
going to be such a big chorusy thing that they're going to do. And it, to me,
You will never ever walk alone.
it sounds like it should be in between Infestisuman and Meliora for me.
Okay.
So I think it would fit in on the Meliora.
Yeah.
I think
Either
it's that
late,
album.
it could have gone on the EP that they release it between them two kind of thing. It
I
could
think
be,
Hunter's Moon's very prequel, but
yeah.
yeah.
Although I really do like it, not just because it's got a Halloween link to it, but it's such a great song.
Because a lot of lyrics are very related to Halloween, aren't they?
Yes, but no.
Yeah, but no.
If you put the lyrics in your head and you think about Halloween, yes, they do link to it. But
Okay.
But they're just enough derivative.
because he talks about his sister,
Slant,
and obviously there's but that's not.
But back
part
to
of
where
the-
we'd hide as children, it's
Yeah.
like it could fit that, but it's
Yeah.
also its own
Okay.
thing.
All right.
And in the new versions of Halloween, they aren't brother and sister, or they haven't released that information yet. If they are,
Yeah.
Fair enough.
so the two they've released so far, I'm not. I don't think I'm going to be disappointed with the album.
Okay. But yeah, so we interested to see if they continue the prequel sound fully. Okay, so number 2 spots. Number 2 for me is prequel. I know I think if you asked me a while ago, I'd have put prequel as number 1, but I think taking out the soft spot I've got for it, I think it's number 2. I think for me prequel.
Infestisuman.
It's here where my list comes to an end because I can't pick between them.
Really, they're joint.
Opus and prequel depends what day you get me on.
So does this mean we're actually unanimous in number 1 then?
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of. So we all agree that Opus is number 1. So if we reach a consensus, we can do that.
Yeah.
Opus is number 1.
Opus is number 1.
Which, okay, so here's where we get a bit more contentious then. So we need to kind of argue our points for the other albums, because that's what we need to try and come out with this.
We need a list.
We need a list as a group that we've decided, not necessarily our personal list, but as a group we have decided on this list of what we think the albums
considering that Meliora for me in 3 is only there because of how good the first 2 are, I'm happy for that and for Infestisuman to be interchangeable. Although I like more songs from Meliora than I do Infestisuman. Side by side, there's probably not a lot in it as albums. I would listen to His over my favourite song from Infestisuman, which is Zombie Queen. I would listen to that 9 times out of the 10, you know.
Okay.
But as albums, there's probably not a lot in it, in my opinion.
Right.
So I'm not going to argue if we're going to unanimously agree on Meliora being at the bottom. However, I disagree. I don't think it is, but you know.
And I will go with this. Prequel as an album, forget that it's a Ghost album and forget that Infestisuman is a Ghost album. As albums go, Prequel is a better, more rounded, well polished album to listen to.
Right.
It's the reason why
to it as well.
The reason why I put it down is because it's a departure from the Ghost sound. If those 2 albums were released by 2 different bands that sounded similar and didn't have a sound to them, I think Prequel would be a better album.
Okay.
So I'm happy to move it up because my 2 and 3 are Prequel and Infestisuman.
I think it's all been nice and like offering to swap albums round weren't what James had in mind.
No, I wanted to blow by blow a cat. You've got glass bottles behind you. I wanted them to be smashed over people's heads as we.
Hang on, let me get the guitar out. Hang on. If you just hear,
again, I
think
if anything, this is proving more just how good Ghost are.
Yeah.
Is that we can see that on another day of the week the rankings could change differently. I'm sure there's potentially someone listening who will have a completely different ranking
Yeah.
to this. They might think Opus is their worst.
I think a
album.
lot of people, because like, obviously we've mentioned it already, I've got the theory that the first album and band release after you get into them is potentially going to be your favourite, a la All Hope Is Gone for me, because that's the first Slipknot album I heard, so it's probably up there still as one of my favourites.
Yeah, no, I agree with Jake. All Hope Is Gone is one of my favourites.
Yeah. It weren't the first Slipknot I heard, obviously.
No.
It was the first new Slipknot to come out since I was a fan. But I think a lot of people will have a different slant on that, in that the first time they saw them, whatever album cycle that is. Considering that Ghost's popularity went from that to that on the Meliora touring cycle, and Popestar Incorporated went from an academy band to an arena band in that time. So I can see why maybe a lot of people would put Meliora as a top, because that's the first time we saw Papa 3, who was a much more dynamic front man, and because it's hard to consider as well, there's a live aspect of these bands, even the slightly more enthusiastic performances that came with Infested Suman, they were still very static.
Yeah.
The Opus touring cycle and the Infested Suman touring cycle were the visual spectacle, and you were attending a religious or an anti-religious event. You weren't at a gig. Whereas from Meliora onwards, you were being performed to. You had a dynamic front man who was sexy and all that sort of thing.
I mean, this is pushing Meliora up in my rankings, I will be honest. Just hear it. I'm willing to hear about it being pushed up ever so slightly, I will be honest.
Yeah.
But Meliora would still be the bottom one for me as an album. I get what you're saying about you need to take it as a whole and that sort of thing, but that would to make it a little bit better for you. My opinion on the
He's
four
a big
albums,
boy. He can fight his own corner.
My opinion on the Ghost albums, the way I've just ranked them, that for now will probably never change unless when the fifth one
when
comes
the new one comes in that ranking. Yeah.
But
I thought he was sixth.
for the purposes of this, to come up with an agreeable list from the Cabin Night podcast, not from me or you or whatever. I'm willing to move them around a little bit, but like Jake, pretty much he's not going to change his ideas on. He's happy for it to go, but he thinks it's shouldn't be at the bottom. So to him, it'll never change where it goes. To me, I'm happy to do that, but my opinion will never change on it.
Right.
We've agreed on Opus then.
We've agreed on Opus.
I think we should probably be discussing then prequel versus Meliora. Is that what this comes down to? Or?
My number 2 was Infested Suman.
Oh, so
my number 3 was Infested Suman.
I see, it was my number 4. So it's not even like we can discount the others and say let's have a head-to-head on this album.
Well, okay, I'd say the simple solution is take, like Bob was saying, take Ghost out of the equation. And if you had a band releasing Infested Suman, a band releasing Meliora, and a band releasing Prequel, which album would you listen to?
It's tough to say, because if you've got Opus, at that point it were just a band releasing Opus.
I get what you're saying, but okay, because even with Opus,
we've agreed on Opus anyway.
But even with Opus, you knew there was theatrics behind it. There was a whole thing behind it.
A whole thing. Yeah.
Whereas a satanic parody band, whatever you want to class Ghost as, would release these. What would you enjoy? Just on the whole, the songs you enjoy listening to. You can listen to.
Which is based on my musical tastes. Which album would I listen to? Well, that confuses the top of the scale, not the bottom, which we've already decided. Because I don't think Opus is necessarily the one for me. I think Prequel would win. I want that one. So take them out of it, because I think they're, like I said, they're both in first anyway for me. I would go with Meliora still, because I just think it flows better as an album. It's got.
See, I don't. I find it comes to sudden halts on the album.
That's what I find about Infested Suman. I found it a bit clunky.
No, that's why I find Meliora quite clunky in places. The random instrumentals that I think really bring the pace down. Well, not bring the pace down, because you can change the pace, but it's like it really stops the flow of the album. I think doing that Meliora. I think Infested Suman, I think, stands better in the sense that they're all individual tracks, whereas Meliora tries to have a flow through them, but then will suddenly stop the flow and then carry it on again. That's how I kind of.
When you're seeing albums and you're thinking about the albums, whenever I think of Infested Suman, I think darkened halls, secret satanic cults meeting, and
that's why I like it.
And that's why, and that's a very strong feeling I get from the album. and there's a very strong sort of mental image I get from Infested Suman is something far flashier, but ultimately more dangerous because it's more widespread. Meliora, as I mentioned already, was for a lot of people their breakout album. Therefore, and if you look at all the stupid little videos that they had coming with Sister Impera and what have you, they're talking about world domination. They're talking about like the Grammy win we Swear Hammer and things like that. They're talking about reaching a wider audience. So I think it all just the theming of every album. I think that's as good as I can say. The theming of every album is perfect.
Yeah.
There's nothing between any of them when it comes to the theming.
Yeah.
And that's something Tobias Forge talks about all the time. Every album's got to have a theme.
Yeah.
So I think it's just too hard in that respect. I stand by what I said. I think even just based purely on how an album sounds, it's still Meliora for me.
I think you put prequel second.
Yes.
You put prequel second. I put prequel third. I'm willing to move prequel up.
Okay.
So we're still arguing between Infested Suman and
So still between Infested.
So which one
Well, it
goes on
comes
the
down
bottom?
Right.
Which one goes on the bottom?
Right.
I think that's what it comes down to because we have discussed those two head to head, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Let me pull up the albums.
You'll pull one up. I'll pull
Okay.
one up.
Wait. Right. I've got Infested Suman.
I've got Meliora.
So there are 10 tracks on Infested Suman. It should just say at the bottom.
No, 10. Yeah, 10 songs.
Okay. So Infested Suman is an intro track. What is the first track on
Spirit?
Is that the first track? Is that the first track? So it's straight. Okay, so for me that gets Meliora slightly above because it's straight into.
Yeah.
See, I see where you're going. I don't agree that the amount of instrumentals is a point.
No. That's not what I'm going for. That's not what I'm going for. This. If Infested Suman was to be paired with Pair of Spirit, that was one track. I think that would be much stronger because I think the next track, Pair of Spirit, is one of the best songs they've done.
I'm pretty close to the pit. It's second on this one.
That's a good track. Secular Haze is a good,
Cerise.
really good, really good track. So strong opening from Meliora, very strong opening. Gigolo Haramedigo.
Then we've got the little spoke.
Yeah, this is when it starts to.
So he is.
I've never been bothered by He Is that much. It's Gula Zombie Queen. Then next on Infested
Mummy
Suman.
Dust.
See, that's the first point at which it wins for me. Infested Suman.
Oh, okay.
Does it win over Mummy Dust though?
Yeah.
It does win over Mummy
Yeah,
Dust.
absolutely. That's my favourite on the album.
Oh,
obviously,
right.
He Is, but side by side, that's a better song than Mummy Dust. Absolutely.
Okay.
And all that is still one of my favourites off the album.
Yeah,
Mummy Dust.
So after Gula Zombie Queen is Year Zero.
Majesty.
Majesty.
Which I think that is a better one.
Okay. Then Body and Blood.
Devil Church, which is one of the other.
Other
Instrumental.
instrumentals. Idolatry was that I can't bring it to mind.
See, this is Absolution.
Absolution.
Yeah, Absolution wins. Absolution does win. Debt to Satanize.
Deus in Absentia.
Well, this is then Monstrous Clock after that. And Deus and Absolution, and Absolution, they beat Debt to Satanize. I'm not sure they beat Monstrous Clock.
Together, did they beat Monstrous Clock?
Yes, because they flow nicely together. They do flow very nicely together, actually, those two.
Just as, because although I sort of chipped in there, what have you, but this very much was it seemed to me that you both said there were better stuff on there.
I think
The points stacked up higher on this side than they did on this side.
I think for me, there are less on this one that I would say are, for me, standout songs. There's Mummy Dust, He Is, Cerise and Pinnacle. They're the 4 on that one for me. There's more on for me. But
As individual songs, yeah.
as individual songs, yeah.
I still stand by what I said. I think Meliora is the weaker album of the two.
I'm not taking just the music.
Because you said a few times, even though I like that song, that one of theirs is better. You said that a few times.
What were the singles of this? Cerise.
Well, I said it about Zombie
Yeah.
Queen. That was the one.
Yeah.
the one
Cerise,
point.
Pinnacle to the Pit, and He Is.
This is about Year Zero as well.
Well, because it was stacked against an instrumental.
Well, yes, it is. No.
I
Stack
don't.
it against He Is though. It doesn't come close.
It doesn't as it's far ahead of it, but yeah.
Personal opinion, James. I'm taking in not just the music.
Yeah.
I'm taking in the image of the band, which was far more dynamic than you'd ever seen before.
We're not rating the band. We're rating the albums, Jake.
But are the bands not the albums?
Yeah, but we're picking the albums. We're not talking about the live performances. We're talking about the albums.
No, because I've seen them live on every tour. So I've seen every frontman, if you like. And the
When did you see Chapter 1?
Defenders of the Faith.
Oh yeah, you've seen
Trivium. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen every version, and they became a fun band from Meliora onwards. They were cool, and this is what it's okay. There was a very much a tonal shift in my own mind. So when I listened to Opus, I thought, this is really cool. This is spooky cool. This is like creepy cool. They've got a thing. They've got an image, and it's like it's cool. And then that carried on with Infested Superman. I was thinking that's really creepy and cool.
Yeah.
They've got a thing going on. But then from Meliora onwards, where it became quite tongue in cheek a lot of the time. It was very tongue in cheek, with the videos and the live banter on stage and all that sort of thing. They stopped being a spooky, creepy, cool image band and became just a fun band. And for me, what I enjoy in the live setting, or even when I'm listening to music, is fun. Is fun music. And again, on that basis, based on my taste in music, that's the winner. I can't in any good conscience say I'll swap it round, because it's far more fun. If it's not as good individually or whatever, you can't deny it's more fun. It's a fun album versus a creepy, cool image.
That type of thing doesn't enter it. If it's a good album, it's a good album, regardless if it's fun or creepy.
No, but it does enter into it if it's based on your taste, though. If what you
But I like fun and I like creepy.
as do I. As do I.
And I get what you're saying, but it's
got to come down to what you like, and
Yeah.
I like in a live setting, and when I'm putting music on, stuff that makes me feel upbeat and happy. And okay, I don't mind depressing and what have you if I'm feeling in the mood for it, but as a general go-to rule, it's fun, upbeat, stadium-y type, And you can't deny that Meliora is one and Infested Superman is the other.
No, you're right.
I'm not trying to convince you of my way of thinking. I'm just telling you that's why I am sticking to my guns on that one. That's why I can't say anything other.
I don't think I can.
I'd be lying to myself.
I can't move him. I can't put Infested Superman.
Okay, we're gonna have to do this on. I'd say on
Rock, paper, scissors.
I'd say on the I know, so I don't know off the top of my head, on whatever the first single was. There's a first single is always your statement of what this album's going to be.
Meliora's one then, because you've got Cerise versus Secular Haze.
In that respect, then yes, I agree. If we're doing it just on the first album, just on the first track in this, or first single rather, Cerise beats Secular Haze for me.
Yeah, I'm going to really fuck things up now and say I think Secular Haze is a better song than Cerise.
You're joking!
I think Secular
Oh,
Haze
for
is better than
fuck's sake! Oh my god!
I much prefer Secular Haze.
What were the singles off them both?
Right. This is meant to be a quick episode, this. Jesus Christ. Right, let's have a look what the singles were.
I think it was Secular Haze, Year Zero, and Monsters Clock, weren't it?
Singles.
Which single are you looking at?
From Meliora. Cerise, Pinnacle to the Pit, and Majesty.
Yes. And
It was Majesty then. Yeah.
And then Infested Superman was Secular Haze and Year Zero.
Oh, they only had the two.
They only had the two.
Or Cerise or Pinnacle to the Pit. Then, because you can get rid of the third one. Because Majesty's a good song, but I think if you just take it on the top two.
So okay. So what was the second one? Pinnacle to the Pit. Yeah. What's Year Zero? Year Zero beats.
Yeah, I agree. So I would say that based on the singles, as a tiebreaker. Oh, would it be a good tiebreaker to have? Would it be a good tiebreaker to have? Yeah, based on singles, Infested Superman wins. Because there's no doubt about that for me. But why not go with the band's EP that they released?
No, because they're not part of this. You said that.
Yeah, but tiebreakers.
You said that, and I'd still choose Infested Superman because I prefer if you have Ghost over Pope Star.
Pope Star's better. Pope Star had Zenith, didn't it?
No, Zenith, which is one of my favourite tracks. Only it was on a special LP release. There's no.
It was like the Here Comes the Sun.
Yeah.
It was on like the Japanese release.
Exactly. So
that.
even though it's a fantastic song, it's not part of this discussion. So I think,
based on that,
from what we've said, that puts Infested Superman into third.
It's not as an album. Meliora is better, but if we've got to tie-break this somehow,
we've got to tie-break it somehow.
In that case, the singles are better.
And then Meliora in fourth, but
begrudgingly
in fourth. But again, on another day of the week, that list could completely change. You know,
My number one never changes.
No.
My number one never changes.
Mine does, between 1 and 2, daily.
To be fair, again, if you ask me in a couple of weeks' time, prequel and Opus might switch around.
I could sometimes listen to Opus and think, as much of a good album as it is, I do sit and think sometimes I'm glad they've
come away.
Progressed. Not come away, but progressed.
Yeah.
Because as good as it is, it's quite muted and basic. Basic's maybe not the right word. It makes it sound like I'm bragging on it.
It's a very different album. It's a much smaller scale.
There's no showmanship on it. It's a.
I'd argue there is just a different type of showmanship.
Yeah, you're seeing a ritual.
Yeah.
You're not seeing.
It's a mass. It's a mass. You see it.
So that's why I keep going back to that analogy of one being a black mass. Then you move on to the cult with the second album, then the super church with the third one, and so. Yeah, I'm not completely happy with that.
No, I don't think any of us are, apart from me, because that is actually my list. But other than that,
does that mean you win? What do you win?
I get to rendition everyone with my version of Dance Macabre. So, or my impression of Nelson Mandela. I don't know what's.
No, what it means is he's got to buy us the Ghost album when it comes out.
Oh, okay,
because he wins.
Fair.
No, you two buy me the Ghost album because I win.
Okay, I'll keep mine then because you don't need two.
So we have thoroughly dissected Ghost albums and ranking them. I think we should do this for other bands.
Definitely.
I think we should.
It's been a fun episode.
Again, maybe bands like Metallica that have got a lot in their back catalogue will be a lot longer than this. I think Ghost. I think as daft as it sounds, I think Ghost. This one would have been easier if Ghost had one more album. As daft as it sounds, because there's only 4, it's hard. I think it's harder to separate them.
Yeah, an odd number as well seems to work better because you've got then a definitive.
You could say, well, this is the middle. Yeah.
So
a band like Slipknot, I think, might be a good shout to do, or something like that. Because they've got
be a good
6 albums.
6
They
albums.
have got 6 albums.
They have.
They actually do.
And they are releasing a 7th, I believe, aren't they?
Yeah, apparently
Yes.
so.
And Coite's releasing B-sides.
B-sides.
Covers, yeah.
He does good at covers.
He's very good at covers. He's very, very good at covers. Although still there's no cover of Everlong on there, which is a shame because it's one of the better covers he does. The version of Everlong. But anyway, so all there is left to say is you've been great, or we've been Cabin Night.